Hi, this is Mika. Welcome back to Leap Taken if you've been here before. Here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. So today's topic is about doing spell work on your partner, your spouse, your significant other. I'm gonna just go full disclaimer: don't hurt people. I'm not advocating for you to do any retaliation, uh, magics, or to manifest something horrible to happen to someone because they've wronged you, or if someone absolutely is totally in a relationship and they're thriving. I am not asking or advocating or suggesting that you interrupt that relationship because you want to be with one of the people in the relationship. I'm not advocating that. So that's my disclaimer. And I'm just looking down at my paper. So whether or not to even do anything on somebody as far as your spouse, any sort of working or anything like that, I really think it depends. That's going to be up to you. It depends on your spiritual practice, your foundations in magic. If you're one of those people, and there are quite a few people actually, contrary to what you might see online, there's quite a few people who don't believe in doing that because they feel like it's infringing on their partner's will. And I'm kind of one of those people, to be honest with you. I don't want to, I wouldn't want anyone to do that to me, so I don't want to do that to someone else, right? But I'll get back to that because I have some modifications. Then there's the topic of, is it even worth it? If you're talking about, let me see, real abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, I'm going to tell you, do spell work on yourself, a road opener spell so you can get out of that situation unscathed, unharmed, alive, especially if children. If you came to me and said, I want to do something to make him stop, I say, I'll help you with that. But first, we got to do this spell first. Then, once you're safe and no longer in the line of getting abused by this person, then let's work on doing the spell so they can, heal from whatever they're dealing with so that they don't hurt people. Because hurt people. So there's something going on here. So maybe we could, not maybe, I say maybe because once you're out of it, you might not want to heal them. You might want to hurt them. I don't know. No judgment. I can understand if somebody's been knocking me in the head and I've been trying to get out and they keep pulling me back in and threatening me and hurting my kids. I might not be so quick to want to heal you right away. I want to do a little something to you first. Then, I'm a compassionate person. Maybe I want to heal you afterwards. I would say avoid the situation. If somebody does something to you once, be done with it. I'm not doing spell work over somebody who wants to hurt me. I can't be in alignment with my intentions and my goals and things I want to manifest if I'm getting knocked over the head randomly by someone who claims they love me. So I don't think it's really worth it unless you're already out of the situation. And again, you're a compassionate person. You just want this person to get better and maybe not hurt someone else. Infidelity. That one's tough because I think it's really, it's case by case. It matters of the situation. I can understand wanting to keep your partner coming home to you and you only. If you're dealing with a situation like that, go ahead and do your spell work, but be honest with yourself also. If this person hasn't been monogamous most of the time that you realize you've been together, again, battle of the wills. Their will to not be monogamous, their will to just do what they want to do might be a lot stronger than your will to keep them at home. You got to kind of face that. So again, we're dealing with some mundane stuff and magic stuff. Your will is very strong. Your will is what fuels a lot of your magic. And if their will is just as strong, you might not win, is all I'm saying. I'm not telling you not to be bothered with it because again, I think it's a case by case basis. I've seen people in situations where, somebody cheated in a relationship, but things were horrible. They had been horrible. And somebody else came along, and when they were with that person, it wasn't horrible. But they had commitments to the first person. They didn't want to end it. And it's a sad situation. And my thing is, either if you want to, if you're not fixing your relationship, release this person, let them move on, whatever. But if you're invested in fixing a relationship and you had problems, and yes, they made it worse by cheating on you on top of it, but there was already the original problem. So I can understand maybe in that situation wanting to do spell work. Listen, we're complex. Humans are complex. And when you add two of them together, and if you're in a poly situation, you have more than two going on, there's going to be some complexity, and you got to open your mind. Here's another thing. Speaking of having an open mind, if you're in a relationship and a person wants to cheat, you've been over it. They've apologized. They said they wouldn't cheat anymore. You might have even had counseling about it. I don't know. You've made commitments that you wouldn't do it, especially if you're married. There's kids involved and everything else. Or maybe there's not, but there's just this commitment, a strong commitment. But they keep cheating. Well, if you still want to stay with that person, because there are people who are like that, no judgment, maybe you need to open your mind to the concept of an open relationship. And maybe because at that point, this person's not going to be monogamous. And if you open a relationship up and you have an idea of this is the primary and everything else is the secondary, listen, expand your mind. Do spell work to expand your mind, to open that up, or to, your spouse, if they're open to it. I mean, I hope they are, if they're, constantly dating new people, because there are people who are like that. They don't cheat with the same person. They actively recruit. I've seen this a lot. It's the chase. Well, what if they had you out there chasing with them? I don't know. That's something you might want to be interested in. And if they say no, maybe you want to do some sort of bend his will spell or bend her will spell to get them on board. You're trying to save the relationship, right? No judgment. No judgment. I'm just saying, if you want to be with this person and this person's their will is stuck in doing something you don't want it to do, but you still want them, you might have to open your mind up to different alternatives, just saying, and use your spell work accordingly. Now, just getting back to whether I would want to do any workings on my husband. I have done something on him before. I did like a attraction spell, just because we had a slump. We've been together for a long time, guys. So we had a slump, and I just said, okay, I'm a witch, act like it, do something extra. So just something more to just, spice things up, to make me more spicy. Not that I need help in that department, but after a certain number of years, I would say at that point we were about maybe 7 years in. What is it, 7 years in? Maybe about, I think it was about more than 5. I just know that. And I just felt like it was a slump. I don't think anybody was trying to step out on a relationship or anything like that. I didn't get that from him. But it was just humdrum. We were just we were in routine. And when you get in routine, you don't stay too much in a routine, because it can get boring. And I don't want to be bored. He didn't want to be bored. So that's when I did a little something on him. I did something on me, and I did something on him so he would be receptive. So it worked out, by the way. And we're still together years later. So I did something right. At least I'd like to believe I did. What about arguing, right? In my situation, and I'll use me here. We argue. I would love to say we never argue. I want that relationship. There's 2 problems with that. Him and me. I'm a Jersey girl on top of my hands. I grew up having to be a lot more aggressive. I've chilled with that since I haven't had to live there in a very long time, but it's still there. And if you poke the bear, it's coming out. It's coming out. He is a man's man. And sometimes we clash, because he's kind of like, well, I said this, so there you go, we're done. And I'm like, oh, no, we're not. I got something to say. I'd like you to hear what I have to think. So, that's when it gets crazy sometimes. Not often, but it does happen. After a situation like that, let's say I was upset, which, it happens. You're upset. You're pissed. You didn't feel heard in this conversation, or they said something that pissed you off even more. Do you want to do a little something on him in that moment? Here's what I do. Instead, I might go cook something. I'll bake something. I'll give him a drink, and I'll enchant that drink. In a more sense, I will do it not to retaliate. I'll do it in a sense of to make him maybe more sweet to me, more apologetic, and to mean it. Something along those lines. I'll say something like that. And I don't always have to rhyme when I say something either, but I'll speak my intent into that, whatever it is he's consuming. I would do that instead, and maybe make myself something as well to calm me down so that I can remember the positive qualities of why I'm with this person instead of just being pissed off, because the pissed off part lasts for a short period of time, so it's not worth focusing on too much. But I would never endanger. I would never do any sort of spell work to endanger my spouse. I would never do anything to get them back and say, oh, I hope your day sucks. I hope you have a bad day. I wouldn't do that, because his fate is tied to mine. We've made that commitment. So for me to put that on him, I'm putting it on me. And that's no karma. That's just marriage. If somebody is out, if you're in a committed relationship with someone and you're wishing ill on them, and you have a committed relationship and there's family and there's finances involved, household, everything, family, you know, his family, your family intertwined, you are wishing that on yourself because you're linked. So their misfortune is your misfortune. So that would be a silly, silly thing to do. So don't do that. Even if they piss you off really bad, don't do that. Binding, doing binding type magic. Not a fan. I don't do it. I like to change my mind. So if I did a binding spell on someone, 10 years ago, and now 10 years later, I don't want anymore, but I have no remnants of the spell because I've moved around or whatever, so I can't just physically undo it. I don't know if that's a great idea. I don't like the idea of binding spells. I've never done one. I can understand others doing it though. I'm not against it. I don't think it's necessary for my situation. No, I'm trying to think why I would do that at this stage of the game with my husband. If he wanted to leave me, I don't think I would bind him to me at that point. I don't think that's not smart. I don't want anybody, you don't want anybody that doesn't want you. At that point, I'm doing spell work for a new me, to rejuvenate me and get me ready to go and live on, without this person. That's the kind of, I would be in that place, not in a place of binding, somebody who doesn't want me to be with me. I wouldn't want to do that. And then finally, I just want to wrap it up about force. Any spell work you're doing where you're forcing a situation onto someone or trying to force their will, maybe you might want to rethink that. Listen, no judgment. I understand if you feel it's necessary. You see a great situation. I can think of things where they're not horrible situations. You're dealing with somebody who let's say it's about a job. He's got a great opportunity for a job. Your dad hooked him up with the job, and it pays more and it'd be great. The problem is your husband loves where he works now. He doesn't get paid as much. Benefits are so, but everything is great with the new job. But he loves his friends. He works with maybe some family members, blah, blah, blah. It's cushy. He's comfortable. But you can see your husband getting complacent. He's not really, it's a social place. That's what he loves about it. But your family could really use that boost. It will change the trajectory of your financial situation for your family. Maybe you want more children, right? Honestly, in that situation, I can understand you doing some spell work. Like, he might not understand it, but I could understand it as a wife and somebody like that. I get it. I would probably do it too. I'm not going to lie. I probably would be very tempted or might just go ahead and do it myself. Because if your intuition is telling you something, I don't know. I might listen to my intuition and go ahead. I would definitely, before I do anything, I would consult my ancestors, spirit, whatever. I would do a reading over the situation and, sit on it, really think about it. But if after all that it felt right, I would probably do it. That's just me. And I think that's a lot of other people too. But that's pretty much my whole thing on doing these sort of magical workings on your spells. Again, it's up to you. Nobody can tell you. You're probably not going to tell anybody anyway that you did it. So what does it matter? But just be mindful that doing something like that, you are interfering with someone else's will. And some people are not strong-willed. You have some people who are just, very bendy. They'll go whichever the way the wind blows them. And they can be easily manipulated. So if you're with someone who is like that, which is not a negative thing, hey, those could be great people to get along with, right? But if that person, at least with you, they're very bendy, their will. Just be mindful and be careful with people like that. Don't be selfish. Don't try to have it your way all the time. That's not a great relationship. That's a manipulative situation. You don't want to be an abusive person in that situation, constantly manipulating someone, using magical ways to do so. So that's how I end it with that. Otherwise, go crazy. No, I'm trying to do what you want. But thank you for watching Leap Taken. And again, I really am enjoying making these videos and coming up with some of these topics. And I cannot wait that the countdown has begun. That I move into my new place and become totally settled here in Arizona. So I'll have a couple more videos with this background and some of the other backgrounds in the other kitchen here. But outside of that, I am packing my clothes in my suitcase and taking my stuff out of storage, finally, and having all my witchy supplies and tools and having access. So stay tuned for those videos because it's going to start to look real different. Alrighty, thanks, bye.